Well, I woke up this morning from a reoccurring dream.
Hey, ACHARA.
What?
What happens when you meet a special someone in the most unexpected way?
I don't know.
Feels like ISHQ.
Oh!
Feels like ISHQ is an anthology of 6 unique love stories coming together to celebrate the feeling. The feeling of what? Of falling in love.
Oh!
This heartwarmingly sweet, old school romance will leave you with a fuzzy feeling, a huge smile, and maybe on a nostalgic trip down memory lane of your first ISHQ.
ISHQ? Risk to ISHQ?
I don't, what?
What?
You gon' chasing rabbits, be careful what you find. The truth you seek might just blow right out.
What are you saying?
Isn't that from Scam 1992?
Feels like ISHQ. Official trailer. Rohit, Saraf, Radhika, Madan, Tanya, Maniktala, Neeraj, Madhav. Feels like ISHQ. What happens when you meet a special someone in the most unexpected way? Isn't that how it always is? It's always unexpected, and you're like, God damn it, I wasn't expecting that.
I would have been wearing my good t-shirt.
Exactly.
I look like a schlub.
I once tried hitting on a woman at the gym who was working at the gym, and I realized I wasn't dressed the part. When I go to the gym, I don't wear my best clothes. I'm at the gym. Why would I wear my best clothes? And I started talking to her. Halfway through talking to her, I realized I don't look great. And I said, just so you know, like, I look better than this usually. But that's not a great selling point. No woman wants to hear that. So, to say the least, it didn't pan out. Anyway, here I am stuck with ACHARA. Feels like ISHQ. Here we go.
Welcome to your room. Please allow me to show you a range of activities for an unforgettable experience in Mahabaleshwar. Water activities at Tapula Lake.
मुझे aquaphobia है.
Sunset Point.
Listen, I'm more of a beach person. I hate heights.
यहाँ क्यों आई?
Hey.
Chill करने.
Do they even know each other?
दो best friends की शादी जिसमें से एक गायब है. We have to find her.
किसी और को नहीं पता है? Wow.
Hello जी, मम्मी ने lunch send किया था.
This smells really good. Thank you.
Oh, cute!
I'm Muskan. I'm 23. Torna Pankar Muskan. And I'm bisexual.
Ah.
What? No, मैं तो.
Hey man.
Kabir, I'm so happy you're here.
Hey.
And somewhere else.
इंटरव्यू के लिए टिप्स दे दिए तो जॉब मिल जाएगा. ये OTG ओवन, LED LCD, everything like Jayasuriya Kunja ka oven for me.
Huh?
You know, Malayali actors, same they look.
Mahabaleshwar दाखवणार ना मुझे.
Please stick to Hindi and English.
मुस्कान मेरी जान झूठ और फैशन दोनों तेरे बस की बात नहीं.
Malayalam I know. Konjam.
Kunjam is not Malayalam, it's Tamil.
Okay.
लव होता है लेकिन वो कुछ टाइम ही रहता है. उसके बाद आते हैं compromises, unfulfilled dreams, resentment, and finally the feeling of being stuck.
Wow.
It's not my battle. You were supposed to be my rebound fucking fuck.
How can you do that, Maninder?
इतना क्यों डरता है अपने फैमिली से?
सब लोग तेरे जैसे नहीं होते.
चूतियापा ना यूनिवर्सल होता है, चाहे बॉयफ्रेंड हो या गर्लफ्रेंड.
मैंने तुमसे कोई बात छुपाई नहीं है. Yeah, fine, I did it for the money in the beginning, but then I did it for you.
मैं भी स्मार्ट बन सकता हूँ जी. I didn't knew.
एक दिन के लिए बहुत कॉम्प्लीमेंट्स दे चुकी हूँ तुम्हें.
So, should we kiss now?
That's a lot of.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
It's a lot of love. You know what, that stuff that Amol Parashar was saying at the end there, where he's all like, at first it's like all nice and everything, and then the resentment sets in and all of the negativity.
I'm just looking out for the ears of the audience. I'm sorry.
I'm like, wow. Okay, yeah. That feels somewhat real, but also extremely pessimistic. I cannot.
No, it gives you hope. You hope it's all going to work out.
Well, yeah.
I'm sure that some of the love stories won't. It's like Love Actually, you know, some of the stories worked out great and some of them did not. That's just life. Kabi Kushi Kabi Gum. I don't know.
Sometimes happy, sometimes sad.
Yeah, there were some interesting moments in there talking about the whole reason I got into this was for X, and then I'm here because of Y.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, I'm frustrated and resentful. You go through all kinds of feelings when you're in a relationship. Why do it?
Why bother? Because we
I'm
don't
just
want to
kidding.
die alone. That's why.
What does ISHQ actually directly translate to?
I'm not sure.
All right.
I just remember it from Scam 1992.
Love, passion.
The
Yeah.
Persian word for love or passion. Feels like ishq. Passion.
The nice thing about this, and normally Netflix does 4 stories. The nice thing about this 6-story anthology thing, you get love from different perspectives, because oftentimes when you watch a movie, you're usually just following 2 characters.
Yeah.
And you're just dealing with that. Sometimes there's a whole conversation there that you're unpacking, especially if it gets heated like it does with you and I do about 500 Days of Summer. It's like we're just talking about one instance. Because I like to get into verbal altercations about love movies. So when it's something like this, at least you have 6 stories to draw upon and kind of compare and contrast. And they're introducing this bisexual element, which is like the new frontier of LGBTQ. Bisexuals have been often sort of relegated to the back and not really concerned with for some reason. And even in the LGBTQ community thing, they're sort of not the most loved, at least from what I understand. It's sort of like shit or get off the pot kind of attitude, both for straight people and for gays and lesbian. It's like, well, it's almost like I have to watch my back with you is this sort of attitude. And there's this misconception that bisexuals want to date everybody at the same time. And it's like, that's not true. You're just more open-minded about who you date. It's interesting for them to explore that here. So that's neat, because we've been covering gays, lesbians, and even a bit of trans, but we haven't really covered bisexuals in terms of cinema. That's largely unexplored. It's more of an offhanded, random thing, like the Woody Allen film. I forgot what it's called.
Vicky Cristina Barcelona.
Where it's there, but it's not really emphasized. Whereas here it's emphasized. There's that struggle, especially from my understanding, there's that struggle in India of concern with not being accepted. ACHARA and I both know people in India who are bi. There's that ongoing fear of oh my gosh, if I say something, this might look really, really bad.
Sure.
Because it's not accepted here. At least with the people that we've spoken with. There are some viewers who are like, what are you talking about? No one cares. I'm happy to have bisexuals in my life. You might be that person, but there are people we've spoken to who are interested in the same sex and the opposite sex. They don't tell anyone about it because for fear of how it looks.
Right.
And so it's cool that they're trying to normalize it here. And what it always comes back to is love is love.
Exactly.
That's the main idea here.
Yeah, and I feel like Netflix is one of those platforms that has always been kind of about diversity and inclusion and, just being a bit more open-minded.
Right.
Yeah.
They did an interesting thing here when they introduced the girl, the love interest, to the bisexual character, which is they did this very old school thing where they made her look softer. It's something they used to do in black and white films whenever they showed a woman who was the love interest, who was very clearly the love interest to the male main character.
Right.
There was a soft sort of texture to the girl. I don't know what they did.
Vaseline.
No, I don't know what they did but they gave her that sort of glowy, angelic look.
Yeah.
They did the same thing here. You can see at 51 seconds. They gave her that sort of look, this ethereal sort of angelic look, to really show you, I guess, something that hasn't been shown a lot in mainstream, which is how one person might look at another person when it doesn't fall into the conventions of what we understand, which is heterosexual relationships.
Right.
It's the same thing. That's sort of same kind of catches you off guard feeling, and it's sort of dreamlike for both, straight people and not straight people. There's some cute romances going on with young people, and I didn't see any older relationships. That would seem to be the only thing sort of missing from here, is that I suppose Netflix has done its job of covering that in other anthologies, but
or other shows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's always nice to see, because no matter what age you are, no matter what direction you go, whether you're straight or not, love is love. That's what it comes down to. It's like whenever it happens to you, it's so new. And it's like whatever you experienced before. The reason I like the older relationships being shown is because whatever you experienced before almost doesn't even matter. It's like when you experience it, it's new, it's fresh, and it's like it's the first time.
And that's what I always find so fascinating about watching older stories when they're emphasizing older characters, is because there's this thing where in a lot of movies and content, once you hit 40, you're kind of obsolete.
Yeah.
Especially for women. Life doesn't end at 40 though. and there's so much more to be lived. And whether you're still with your partner of like forever, you know, or whether you're 60 years old and you found that like your partner died, or you're in a divorce or whatever, like life carries on. One thing that I also enjoyed about this was that they were showing people from all different parts of India as well.
India is a very diverse place.
It is a very diverse place. And so I liked that about this, that it wasn't just like, oh, it's all just people from one region, or it's just Mumbai or whatever. And I mean, I imagine that it's like all over the place in India. And then you've got the guy he's Malayali and all that. And so there's like that kind of cross-cultural, in a way, love story, you know, because they're from different regions, I guess.
There's one thing that I often feel like isn't explored in film, which is that feeling of like you're on an island in terms of being a dude and looking for relationships. I don't exactly know what the situation is in the very first thing that they were showing. It does seem interesting that these two are in a relationship. Either at some point they're in a relationship. I don't.
Yeah, they get into a relationship.
Right.
I think in the beginning they're not. Like I wasn't clear whether it was one of somehow he ended up in her room,
right,
and they were sharing a room, or if she hired him to be her tour guide or something.
Either way, there is this thing being established, which is she doesn't like to do anything fun. Well, I know those frustrations, and it's kind of annoying. I wonder if it's going to be explored here, because they sort of hinted at it, which is you sort of have this feeling at some point, which is you take what you can get. Oftentimes, the desire for love makes you feel like you're on an island as a person, whether as a guy or a girl, but I think a lot of guys can feel that way. Anecdotally speaking, if you go on Tinder as a guy, it's a lot harder to get a match than if you're a girl. If you take me and ACHARA, I go outside and I try to hit on somebody. ACHARA goes outside, she tries to hit on somebody. Man or woman, I feel like ACHARA's gonna have an easier time than I am. You often have these things where you sort of put up with, like, okay, she doesn't like to do anything fun, but at least she's interested. Like, you know, I wonder if that's gonna be explored at all, because later on in the trailer, they showed this moment where he's like, look, I got into this for this reason, and then, you know, I really was just here for this. I don't know. I'm just curious about the conversations that are going to unfold in this.
That's why I was kind of like, oh, maybe he started out as working for her and then now he's into her. That's what that made me think of. But it's funny what you're talking about being an island, because I thought that what you meant was showing that feeling of when you're in love, you two are the only people on the island.
Well, is that as well? I mean,
matters.
that's a different kind of island. That's a tropical island versus a desert island.
Right. So you feel like you're Tom Hanks in Castaway.
If you're, no, not just me specifically, but like guys in general, when like, I think that oftentimes you stay in a relationship that you should probably exit. You're like, oh my God, it just looks like.
Right, yeah, loneliness out there.
This awful situation is like an oasis in the desert, so why would I walk away? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of people end up stuck like that, or getting into a relationship like that, where they're like, at least they're interested. You know, something's better than nothing, is the sort of attitude I find that, you know, it's like, why don't you just walk away? Because it's so hard out there for a pimp. You guys, thanks so much for hanging out. Hopefully you enjoyed some of that weird conversation. And let us know if you have felt ishq. What ishq feels like to you.
What does ishq feel like?
You know?
Feel the ishq.
Ishq, it's such an interesting, it's such a meaningful word when you know the direct translation, but it's like in English, it sounds like ishq, like, you know, how do you feel? Ishq.
Ishq.
You know, that's what it sounds like to me.
It sounds beautiful to me.
Oh, yeah?
Ishq.
What doesn't sound beautiful to you? A fart sounds beautiful to ACHARA.
No, poop doesn't sound beautiful to me.